We all think we know their story. The White House, the world stage. But the real story, the one that actually defined them, well, that started way before any of that. This is a story about a partnership that didn't just watch history happen, it actively shaped it. And to really get it, we have to go all the way back to the beginning. So let's just ask this. What if we hit rewind, go past the presidency, past all the campaigns, and land in a totally ordinary Chicago law office in the late 80s? Because that, right there, is where this whole incredible partnership actually began. Okay, so picture this. The year is 1989. We're not in Washington, D.C., we're in a bustling Chicago law firm. And a brilliant, up-and-coming lawyer is assigned to mentor a new summer associate. Neither of them had a clue, but that one little assignment, well, it was about to change everything. And right off the bat, you could see how different they were. On one hand, you've got Barack, the summer associate. He's this calm, thoughtful idealist, always talking about community and purpose. And then you have his mentor, Michelle Robinson, super pragmatic, disciplined, all about structure. In a lot of ways, they were total opposites. So naturally, when this dreamy idealist asks his very practical mentor out on a date, her answer was a hard no. And then when he asked again, it was another no. For her, dating a coworker, it just wasn't professional. She was building her career and did not have time for distractions. When you look at this timeline, it really puts their whole journey in perspective, doesn't it? This was no whirlwind romance. From that first meeting in '89, it took 3 years for them to get married. Then came kids, and it was almost 2 decades before they'd even step onto the world stage. Their story was a slow burn, built 1 year at a time. But Barack, well, he was persistent. And when Michelle finally said yes to a date, everything changed. It wasn't some glamorous night out. It was a day filled with art, long conversations, and ice cream. She saw that his ambition wasn't just for himself. It was driven by this really deep sense of purpose. And that, right there, was the foundation. So that authentic connection became the bedrock for the next big chapter, actually building a life together. And as their relationship got more serious, they started facing all the real-world stuff that so many of us do. Careers, loans, and that big question of starting a family. So one night, they're at a restaurant, and the topic of marriage comes up. But this wasn't some romantic fairy tale moment. No, it turned into a full-on debate between two incredibly sharp legal minds. And true to form, Michelle went into full-on pragmatist mode. She was laying out the logical pros and cons of marriage, being super practical, while Barack just calmly sat there, taking it all in. And this moment just perfectly captures their dynamic, because right as their logical debate is kind of wrapping up, dessert arrives. But under that fancy silver lid was a little surprise that was about to cut right through all that pragmatism.
Yep, inside that box was a ring. In that one moment, Barack completely flipped the script. He went from being a debater to being a partner, asking the only question that really mattered.
But, okay, after that perfect proposal, reality kicks in, and their life together was anything but easy. They were juggling student loan debt, 2 really demanding careers, and then their daughters, Malia and Sasha, arrived, which brought a whole new level of joy and, let's be real, pressure. This is where the story gets really complex. As Barack jumps into politics, his ambition starts to seriously clash with the demands of their family life. It created this huge central conflict that they had to figure out together. But here's the most important part. It's not about the pressure they were under. It's about how they dealt with it. For every single challenge, the long nights, the public criticism, the money worries, they came up with a solution that was all about their partnership. They were constantly talking, making big decisions as a team, and fiercely protecting simple things, like family dinner. It would have been so easy for resentment to build up, especially for Michelle, who was often carrying more of the weight at home. But they made a very conscious choice. They decided to see it all as a chance to grow, not just as individuals, but as a couple.
And then came the ultimate test of that partnership, the White House. All of a sudden, the challenge wasn't just about balancing ambition and family. It was about balancing leading an entire nation with the promise they'd made to their 2 little girls.
And they were incredibly serious about protecting that promise. They set hard rules. The President of the United States would be home for dinner at 6:30. Homework would get done. Bedtimes were absolutely non-negotiable. In the most public house in the world, they fought tooth and nail to create a private, normal home. And on the world stage, you saw that same partnership dynamic on full display. It was never a competition for the spotlight.
He had his job as president, and she confidently carved out her own path, championing incredible initiatives. They didn't compete with each other, they completed each other.
And Barack himself was always the first one to say it. This quote really says it all, doesn't it? He knew that his entire journey was only possible because she was his partner, his anchor, and his most trusted advisor. So as we start to wrap this up, what is the real legacy here? It's not about a presidency, it's not about politics. It's about the powerful partnership that made all of it possible in the first place.
And that support was completely mutual. Michelle's view here just shows you it was never a one-way street. They pushed each other, they challenged each other, and at the end of the day, they helped each other become better people.
Their partnership was never a static thing. It was always evolving. You can literally see it move through these distinct phases, from young professionals trying to figure it out, to parents juggling everything, to global leaders, and now to creative partners in their life after the White House.
So, what's the core lesson we can take from their journey? It's that their story isn't some fairy tale. It's actually something way more real and a lot more powerful. It's a testament to what happens when you have shared values, deep respect, and you make that conscious choice to be a team, especially when it gets tough.
In the end, this incredible partnership that started in a simple Chicago law office didn't just end up shaping their own lives. By showing the world a love that was built on respect, friendship, and just unwavering support, it became a story that continues to inspire millions.